I have a sweet tooth. That is no secret. If you follow along, you know that I think every day is better with some coffee and chocolate. And so I always have a piece or two of dark chocolate, or like the Dove chocolates or Reese cups. I love those. Now, I'm not talking every day I eat a whole package of them, but I like those little ones. And definitely the holiday season, when the pumpkins come out and when the Christmas trees come out and the eggs, you know, those Reese's candies are so good. And of course, I'm also a football fanatic. I love football. And about a year or two, they came out with Reese's footballs during football season. So anyway, I have some of those in the freezer, but all that to say is I have a sweet tooth and I'm not going to hide it. But we have to figure out ways to deal with it, because eating sugar all day long is not going to fuel us and help us to feel good and embrace the holiday season. And that's what we're trying to do right now, is we want to have a happy, healthy December, because when we're feeling good and we're feeling at our best is when we can be present and embrace those moments. So if you've been following along, today is day 5 of Turn Your Holidays into Holy Days. And today is all about dealing with sweets. So I'm going to quickly go over the 7 tips that I give you on this day in the book. And of course, you can get your copy of it on Amazon. But I will go through those tips that just help you deal with sweets, because I want you, for one thing, and always to know that sugar is not the enemy. Sugar is not bad. We in this space, we don't identify food as good or bad, or identify ourselves as being good or bad based on what we eat or what we don't eat. But there are definitely some ways for us to navigate the sweets and the desserts, because they show up all the time, right? And, you know, something that I teach in Moderation 365 is, you know, we can eat the same on Monday as we do on Saturday. We can eat the same, you know, on Christmas Day as we do on January 1st. When we find, you know, when we take a moderate approach. And that, for me, part of that is having a little bit of chocolate every day, so that when, you know, things like the season comes around, I'm not, you know, eating all the sugar because I haven't had sugar for, you know, weeks and months or whatever. But still, with that in mind, there are some ways that we can approach sugar or sugary treats that will help us, you know, maybe keep our blood sugar balanced a little bit better, you know, and all of those kinds of things, and just keeping our energy so that we're not going up and down and all that. So the first thing is chocolate. You know, chocolate, like I said, I have some chocolate every day, but, you know, there are studies that dark chocolate has, you know, more antioxidants, a little bit less sugar, you know, all that kind of thing. So, you know, the type of chocolate that you have and the amount of chocolate, you can do yourself a little favor by having some dark chocolate if you like it. But again, you know, if you don't like it and you try to eat dark chocolate, eventually you're probably going to eat that and then go ahead and eat what you were craving or what you really wanted. So always, it's more important to eat a little bit of what you really wanted, rather than to try to substitute and still going for the thing that you wanted in the first place. You would have been much better off just having your milk chocolate or the chocolate chip cookie, rather than trying to curb it by all these other things and then still going for that. So number 2 is nuts. Nuts, of course, are a little source of protein. So sometimes you might want to think about having, you know, a chocolate with nuts in it, or adding, you know, a few nuts with that chocolate. So that adds a little bit of protein. And, you know, I'm going to put a link down below in the description to one of my favorite dietitians, and she focuses on diabetic nutrition. She deals with it herself, and so she often talks about the importance of including a fat, a fiber, and a protein with your meals to stabilize your blood sugar. And she has so many great tips. It's Mary Ellen Phipps, I think, is it's Milk and Honey Nutrition, and I'm going to put that link below because you can go there and find some great recipes. You can find some shopping lists, some snack ideas, all kinds of things to help you. Again, whether you are diabetic, you have someone in your family with that, or you simply want some healthy ways to keep your own just blood sugar balanced, from day to day, but especially this time of year. She has some great recipes, a good, easy cookie recipe that incorporates that fat, fiber, and protein so that you can have something, a little more on the sweet, sugary side without, causing, rise in blood sugars and things like that. Another option, number 3, we're looking at flour options. Instead of using the regular all-purpose flour, think about whole wheat flour. You can do oat flour, almond meal. Just take a look at how you would sub those in and out. A lot of times it can be one to one, but you might have to make some different changes in that. So just take a look at that. Sweeteners. Of course, sugar is sugar, but we can look at things like maple syrup and honey, stevia. There are things like that you can incorporate, or simply just using a little less sugar in a recipe. I've made my usual chocolate chip cookie recipe that has the Nestle Toll House chocolate chips, that has, flour in it, but, just using a little bit less sugar in the recipe, and you can't even tell the difference. And then protein powder is sometimes a great way to just toss into a recipe, maybe putting that in for a little bit of the flour, putting that in instead of a little bit of the sugar. It depends on the recipe. You can even look up some things online that use protein powder in their recipes instead of, flour or sugar, things like that. So sometimes even on certain protein powders, they have recipes for different things using their protein powder. So take a look at that. And of course, drinking water, make sure that you are hydrating well. That, again, helps keep things flushed out. We talked about drinking water, already in this book a couple of days ago. So it's just important to keep your water intake. And that also keeps you full so that you're not thinking that, I need some sugar, I need to pick me up in the afternoon. It might just be that you haven't had enough water. So get a glass of water. That might help in, curbing a craving or just making you feel satisfied or giving you a boost of energy. And of course, movement every day, again, keeps things flowing through our body. It keeps us feeling good. Getting out, getting that fresh air can give us that, dose of endorphins that, maybe we thought we needed a little sugar. We wanted a little bit of sugar. I'm never an advocate for exercising so that you can eat or having to go burn off something that you ate. There's nothing like that going on, but it is important that you just keep moving. Move regularly, drink your water, and then, have that sweet in moderation. And if you're fixing something, you might consider some of these tips as well. But know that, sugar is not the enemy. It's never the enemy. There are things in this season that, again, I talked about my granny's fudge, that doesn't come along, all the time throughout the year. So, I'm going to have a piece of fudge or multiple pieces over the course of, the month or the season or whatever. But, just remember to balance all of those things out. So again, those are 7 things that you can do to kind of address that sweet tooth and maybe help you find some balance and some moderation with dealing with sweets throughout this month. And again, they're always around us, so just enjoy in moderation. And I'll see you tomorrow for another tip so that we can continue